Light rain brings mixed farming fortunes. Curfew proposed for Toowoomba youth. And Toowoomba tornadoes out to recover from one of their worst defeats.
Win News with Craig Campbell.
Good evening. It's brought heartbreak to some cotton farmers, but lifted the outlook for wheat. Widespread soaking rains across the Darling Downs. The best falls have been further west, with Meandara receiving at least 70 millimetres in the past 24 hours.
The widespread rain will now ensure excellent conditions for winter cereal crops. In the 24 hours to 9 o'clock this morning, the best falls were registered on the Western Downs, Meandara topping with 70 millimetres. Rainco predicts there could now be as much as 1 million hectares of wheat planted in Queensland this year. But for Downs farmers like Ashley McEwen, who's beginning to harvest cotton, the rain couldn't have come at a worse time. It'll downgrade the quality of cotton crops.
The seed can go mouldy. The strength of the cotton is somewhat reduced, and we won't know exactly until the cotton has been ginned and we get the returns from the gin.
Good general May rain hasn't fallen on the Central Downs for many years. The issue confronting farmers now is how much this will cause crops to devalue.
We were hoping for a good crop. As you say, we've had some difficult years, and we've had fairly big expenses this year with insects in our cotton. So we were looking for a reasonable crop to keep us ahead.
At least half the cotton grown on the Darling Downs is yet to be harvested. There are concerns the rain will affect the weight of remaining sorghum crops. Meanwhile, Toowoomba Chamber of Commerce Chairman Brian Hodges hopes the rain will boost business after slow trading during April.
We desperately require the country people in town spending, and we haven't had that, and haven't had that for a long time. And with the follow-up rains, maybe the crops will be a lot better. There'll be a lot more confidence in the country, which will bring that spending back into the city.
The Bureau of Meteorology predicts the rain will break up tomorrow afternoon. Christina, Ferris, Win News.
And the rain has been most beneficial. Heavy rain in the west will give many on the land a reprieve. Up to 330 millimetres has fallen on some properties at Westwood in the central region, securing cattle fodder for the rest of the year and the foundations of a winter wheat crop.
The swollen creeks and rivers couldn't have come at a better time for the community west of Rockhampton. For about 100 properties in the Westwood region, it's a reprieve. The 330 millimetres recorded since Saturday, a guarantee of fodder for cattle for the rest of the year, in this case 1,500 head on Halton property.
Hopefully this will take the pressure off the cattle market, and hopefully will help the price being received by producers to come up a little bit and make things a little bit more worthwhile.
But the rain doesn't signal the end of money problems for graziers. They're now hoping it'll slow the flow of drought-affected cattle onto the markets, allowing for better prices. For 3 generations, the Laurie family has looked out over this 6,000-hectare property at Westwood. But since 1979, the seasons have been poor. The last 5 have been drought-stricken. The unseasonal wet has also been a godsend for wheat growers in the area, who can now plant their winter crop on this rainfall. But it's been a double-edged sword. While wheat will benefit, sorghum won't, and growers are looking down the barrel of a ruined crop if it doesn't stop raining in the next couple of days.
If it goes on for another day or two, we'll have sprouting of grain in the sorghum heads, and that obviously will be a loss of quality and a loss in the return that we can get off the crop.
Growers remain at the mercy of the weather. This time it's rain, waiting it out to see their next move. Shan Vivers, Win News.
Meanwhile, research scientists in the Lockyer Valley have uncovered a sorghum fungus previously undetected in Australia. 5 commercial seed sites in the Lockyer Valley and on the Darling Downs have been placed under immediate quarantine.
The Australian Quarantine Inspection Service and DPI have moved quickly to place the sites, including this Lockyer Valley research area, under strict quarantine, following the detection of what may be one of 2 sorghum fungal diseases.
Whether it's Claviceps africana or Claviceps sorghum, it doesn't really matter insofar as both diseases have never been present before in Australia.
British scientists are currently running tests on the traces found in the Queensland crops. Mr McNee won't speculate on how the fungus entered Australia, but warns this is not another carnal bunt.
It can be transmitted on clothing, in machinery, We really don't know how it's come in. It's highly unlikely it's come in on imported machinery from the United States or on grain from the United States, because the disease does not exist in that country.
It may take up to 6 weeks to positively identify the pathogen, which is thought to have come from Africa, India or Thailand. In today's rain, it was difficult to get a good look at the infected heads, which have a characteristic shine.
The disease replaces the grain in the head. You start off with a sticky exudate on the seed heads, and that exudate contains mycelium and spores, results in very shiny areas on sorghum heads, so it's very easy to detect.
DPI inspectors are today combing Lockyer Valley crops, looking for that shine and questioning growers. By tomorrow, they should know the full extent of the fungal presence in the area. In Gatton, Kirsty Bozeman, Win News.
A youth curfew is being proposed for Toowoomba and the rest of the state, following on from the successive curfews in towns such as Pittsworth. Local youth workers have welcomed the idea, but say it may not be as easy to manage in larger towns.
The idea of a youth curfew has been raised in Toowoomba before, but it's never been tried. Under the proposal by Police Minister Russell Cooper, police would have the power to pick up children aged 13 and under and take them back to their home or a safe refuge. The curfew operating between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m.
I think generally most people view it as a negative thing, simply because of the word curfew. And yet, I think any concerned parent or any concerned worker wouldn't want 12-year-olds to be roaming the streets late at night.
Mr Sadie says for the curfew to work, police would need to work closely with youth organisations, family services and domestic violence units.
You know, that young person may be running away from a domestic violence situation or, you know, like an abusive situation of some sort. So it would be necessary for the police to work in with organisations in order to find the best possible solution for that young person at that time of night.
A youth curfew has operated successfully in Pittsworth, but Mr Sadie says it's more likely to work there because of the small community.
In a place like Toowoomba, I think it's more difficult because largely the young people are unseen and a lot of parents, you know, really don't know the police very well.
The proposed curfew is part of the new Police Act, expected to be through by the end of the year. Bernadette Young, Win News.
Council has agreed to look at installing no standing signs around Clifford Gardens to stop the problem of cars clogging the streets. Residents have expressed concerns access to their homes have been hampered and dangerous traffic conditions have been created by the parked vehicles. Late yesterday, Clifford Gardens Centre Management met residents and council representatives to discuss ways of solving the problem. Centre Management says they're actively discouraging staff from parking in residential streets around the centre. They're also providing adequate off-site parking for staff. The state government has said even if the majority of Warwickshire residents voted against de-amalgamation in a referendum, Allera might still form a separate shire. Local Government Minister Di McCauley says if 90% of Allera voters wanted de-amalgamation, she'd have their case investigated.
Local Government Minister Di McCauley will look carefully at the results of any referendum on de-amalgamation of Warwickshire. It's not yet known whether residents will vote in a referendum, but Mrs McCauley has said if a referendum is lost, but 90% of Allera residents vote in favour of a breakaway shire, she'll ask the local government commissioner to investigate. One of his options would be for Allera to establish its own council.
I think the Commissioner, when he looks at the boundaries, will come to the same conclusion he came to last time, and that is that Allera's long-term future, because of its geographic and size and its population base, was going to struggle to be viable.
A petition with 10% of signatures supporting de-amalgamation in Warwickshire must first be presented to the Minister before any referendum is held. Mayor Green believes a referendum would be doomed to fail and says the de-amalgamation push is a futile exercise.
I'd much prefer to see those resources spent towards something productive and not, and I believe this is going to be unproductive and that it revisits the old questions and reopens the old wounds.
A petition of signatures is due on Friday, May the 10th. If names and addresses can be verified, a referendum would then be set for the 27th of July. Christina Ferris, Win News.
After the break, a special program to help cancer sufferers come to grips with a new life. And from one tank to another, a piece of Murphy's Creek history lives on.
This week,
Target is taking 20% off the marked price of all ladies' underwear. Bras, corsetry, men's and kids' underwear, plus no deposit lay-by. But hurry, before our prices snap back.
Ouch! Home Hardware having a homemaker sale with some cracking bargains. Like cottage garden window box kits for only $19.95. Versatile utility cases for $39. Buy Jingo's Family Guard smoke alarms for just $8.95. Yes, Home Hardware have everything a homemaker needs, and the prices are crashing down right now.
Oh, so there's no place like home for homemakers.
Here's some great winter winners from Arthur Schofield & Co. Gundawindi to get you off to a bright new season. R.M. Williams Slim Fit Jeans, $65. R.M. Williams Permanent Press Jeans, $59.95. And Denim Riders, $69.95. R.M. Williams Bone Riders, $75. Levi Boot Cut Jeans, $55. Stonewash Jeans, $59.95. Lee Stonewash Stretch Jeans, $59.95. And look at this table special Stone and Bleach Wash Jeans, a crazy $35. Don't miss these super specials at Arthur Schofield & Co. Marshall Street, Gundawindi.
This year's Garden Fest features a spectacular range of new plants and dazzling orchid and flower shows. Meet the experts Ross McKinnon from Burke's Backyard and Malcolm Campbell from Gardening Australia. Garden Fest May long weekend, Toowoomba Showgrounds, proudly supported by Country Bake, Greenrich Botanicals and Win Television.
We are very excited about our expansion plans at Hayes, but not quite as excited as your response to our progressive sale. Tomorrow we reach 42%. Jewellery, giftware, watches, all discounted by 42% at Hayes Jewellers pre-Mother's Day progressive sale.
Will you get the present you expect this Mother's Day? What about ladies' slippers at Speeds? For an unexpected $10. This Mother's Day, you can't beat Speeds.
This Mother's Day, give Mum something a little different, like a trip to Sydney. Just shop at any downtown Toowoomba store, fill in an entry form, and go into the draw to win a trip for two to Sydney. A gift Mum will never forget by shopping at
Downtown Toowoomba.
Hello, Bruce Page in the National 9 newsroom. Tonight at 6:30, the nation unites in silence as Prime Minister John Howard visits Port Arthur. Dramatic medical rescue of two sailors off the Gold Coast. And the simple caffeine treatment that's saving premature babies. That's at 6:30, straight after Win News. Details then.
Thanks, Bruce. Welcome back to our Darling Downs News. The Queensland Cancer Fund's Toowoomba office has launched an innovative program to help patients and their families deal with the disease. Living with Cancer consists of a 6-week series of free classes clarifying the facts and exposing the myths about cancer.
The program will address the day-to-day effects of cancer on sufferers, their families and friends, while providing practical, informational and emotional support. Queensland Cancer Fund spokesperson Karen Jurgensen says those participating in the program will learn to refocus their energy, to move from dwelling on internal anxieties to concentrating on opportunities which can improve their lives.
Anyway, to give people control by giving them self-confidence, bringing them forward. If they've got self-confidence and they know their facts and they know their information, their coping level is going to be a lot higher, and to get people talking in their families again. And I see that would be the main goal.
The program has several objectives: to teach participants about cancer, its causes, diagnosis and rehabilitation, then to foster an understanding of the medical problems which may arise from the disease and how best to cope with them.
They stop talking because they're trying to protect each other and they don't want to talk about the inevitable, or they don't want to discuss treatment. And this program has brought forward, even last night, it brought out a lot of emotions for people and got people actually talking.
She says through cancer education, participants gain a sense of the social and emotional aspects of cancer. They realise they are not alone in their fight and are able to offer each other encouragement and support.
And once they get talking, then they go home and they've got that bond and they can work through the things that they've found out.
The program is open to people of all ages and will be conducted in Toowoomba and Warwick once a week for the next 2 weeks. Anybody interested should contact the Queensland Cancer Fund's Toowoomba office. Michael Davey, Win News.
The widespread general rain across many areas of Queensland tended to stimulate the market at Dalby today, where agents herded 2,180 head. Values improved across the board with increases of 2 to 13 cents. Heavy vealers showed the most, gaining up to 13 cents a kilo, selling to 108.2. Yearling steers sold to 92.6. The battle to save an historic Murphy's Creek landmark has been won. The old water tank beside the railway line will be restored and preserved for future generations, at the same time keeping the town's economy intact.
Earlier this year, Murphy's Creek residents joined tourists from across the country to welcome an historic steam train to the tiny community. The aim was to highlight the impending removal of the water tank from the side of the track, for decades used to fill steam trains heading up the range. Tourist trains still use it to fill up before the steep climb. That was until the water was cut off and the tank earmarked for removal. But thanks to the efforts of a range of community and local government concerns, Queensland Rail and the state government have responded, announcing the tank will be saved and restored to its former glory.
It's certainly another instance of what can be achieved, of a community working together and taking steps to have their voice heard.
Today, those involved were looking forward to a bright future for the area. Not only will the tourist trains be able to continue, the Rural Fire Brigade has a valuable water source on which to draw, notwithstanding the fact that a piece of the region's history is preserved for the young.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, no doubt. Yes, it's a very important part of the history of the region.
Arthur Trim was one of the key supporters of saving the tank, rewards today for a job well done.
This has all been done for the children and the future. And those people that are so negative in their thinking, that just because things are wooden, they have to be pulled down is wrong. It's the history of Australia. You mustn't destroy it.
Paul Stone, Win News.
To the share market, and the big Australian has bounced back to $19.71. Qantas steady at $2.26. Southcorp up 10 to $3.56. Both the All Ords and the gold recorded a drop. Now to sport, and it's all yours, Costo.
Thanks, Craig. Good evening, everyone. Coming up in sport tonight, the Tornadoes fight for Queensland Cup survival. Then a world champion woodchopper defends his crown at Kingaroy.
Wednesday night at the movies, an epic tale.
We have a boxer here.
The power of one.
Forget the girl. I'm not going to forget the girl.
A child of Africa who becomes a champion, discovers life.
Extraordinary.
And takes up the fight for freedom.
Your update. I'm not finished with you.
Sir John Gielgud, Morgan Freeman and Stephen Dorff. Cinematic brilliance from Australia's Dean Semler. The Power of One. 8:30 tonight on Win.
The new V6 Mitsubishi Magna can leap from 0 to 100 in a mere 8.2 seconds. But when it comes to your test drive, we'd prefer you to take as much time as you like. Please consider the new Mitsubishi Magna.
Moving to Glenfield Grange was the best thing we ever did. It's lovely here. The residents and the management are all so helpful. Our privacy is respected. But when we feel like socialising, there's so much to do. I feel secure and content. We should have done this years ago.
Not having to worry about the lawns and looking after the old house is marvellous. We don't even need our car. And the bus takes us everywhere. I especially like the social outings.
Isn't it time you visited Glenfield Grange?
It's a classic Mother's Day at Argyle Jewellers Clifford Gardens. New style 18-carat gold diamond ring, $1,295. 9-carat gold fancy engraved Belcher link bracelet with filigree padlock and safety chain, independently valued at $725. Argyle's price $595. And an exquisite 9-carat gold fob chain with garnet set heart pendant, independent value $1,100. Argyle's price $895.
You're with Win Local News, produced for the Darling Downs from our Mount Lofty studio in the Garden City of Toowoomba.
Welcome back. Soccer first up tonight, and the Tornadoes fight for Queensland Cup survival at the weekend, starting with Saturday's match against Premier League performer Bean Lee. Richard Mitchell expects to make changes to the side after suffering the biggest loss since he's been coach.
The Toowoomba Tornadoes had limited preparation for their first match, just one session before taking on the Lions. The result was disastrous, losing in Brisbane a fortnight ago by 6-0. The Tornadoes started with a new-look team as coach Richard Mitchell experimented blooding young players.
We can make excuses and we can say we didn't have the preparation and certainly they added to it, but at the end of the day we didn't play well. probably one of the worst performances that I've had since I've had the Tornadoes.
The axe is set to fall for Saturday's match against Beenleigh, but this year's Queensland Cup was always going to be difficult for Toowoomba. Many top players have made the move to nearby Brisbane to play at the highest level, something Toowoomba clubs can't compete with sitting in second division. In the 4 years Mitchell has been coached, the squad of 15 has been reduced to 3 originals with defections to Brisbane.
Obviously, we've got to try and play at the highest level of football, but you know, players want to play on a bigger stage, and you know, they're entitled to have a look at that. It's a free country.
Mitchell is confident the Tornadoes can show a vast improvement for Saturday's match in Toowoomba. His side will need one facing the end of their Queensland Cup campaign if they don't defeat the Premier League's number 2 side. Peter O'Dempsey, WIN News.
The legendary David Foster is set to defend his crown in Kingaroy this weekend in the World Woodchopping Championships. Foster will start on the maximum handicap, giving his opponents a 38-second head start before he begins swinging his axe.
David Foster is a giant of a man in person as well as in the sport of woodchopping. Few have ever beaten the Tasmanian, and he's held the world record more times than any other man on earth. He swings his sheer bulk into the sport using a mixture of strength and technique to make logs disintegrate before him. This weekend he defends his world crown in the South Burnett, his 3rd appearance at the Kingaroy show. The world champ is so good he'll start some events with the maximum handicap of 38, giving his opponents a huge head start.
So some bloke could be starting on 2, and he's got to stand there for another 36 seconds before he gets a go.
Foster is said to favour the softer Tasmanian wood, giving Queensland champions their best chance of beating the Man Mountain.
There'll be young Brucey Winkle from Queensland, and he's always hot on the heels of David Foster. And there'll be Peter Dingle from Mount Perry up here.
The tree felling world title is also up for grabs. Champion Matthew Gurr defending his championship against the man who beat him recently in Melbourne, John Russo.
Young Johnny will be really recognised as, you know, one of the ones for Matthew to have to beat, you know, in the world's title in the tree falling.
And now it's over to WIN's own sporting guru, Pat O'Shea, for a full roundup of a big, long weekend of sport.
Well, the Darling Downs Rugby Union sides will be hoping conditions are a bit better than this in Rockhampton. They've left to compete in the country championships. The under-19 and the A-grade, they're expected to be very competitive. Also over this long weekend, the state championships in rugby league will be played in Gladstone, and the Mustangs are taking an under-17, an under-19 and a first-grade side. Meanwhile, the Australian rules have a big carnival for under-13s at Mooroomba, and Jim Urquhart will take an under-13 Darling Downs side there. At the present time, the Australian Softball Championships are being played in Perth, and the Queensland side's going very well. It's captained by Toowoomba's Melissa Edwards. Melissa herself has been in fine form. She scored 1,000 in the match against the ACT. Meanwhile, Dalby and Northern Downs Jockey Club officials are very hopeful that they can stage the meeting at Dalby tomorrow. At this stage, the track is safe. There will be an inspection made tomorrow morning. Thanks very much, Jason.
And that's the very latest in WIN Sport. Thanks, Craig.
He's handy with that axe, isn't he, Costa? After the break, the local weather details and doing the diabetes dance. Children exercise their way into class.
Tonight on WIN, following Our House and Weddings, Sir John Gielgud, Morgan Freeman and Stephen Dorff star in The Power of One.
Look, Mum, they're home. I've got to go.
She moved into a flat about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Voila.
With a nice group of friends.
It's made by me.
They go to the gym, they're fit, they're always very conscious of what they eat. She often rings me up and asks for different recipes, especially my muffins. She loves the way I make my muffins. She's been a Meadow Lee kid all her life.
From natural sunflower and canola plants, cholesterol-free Meadow Lee.
Ought to be congratulated.
Right now, at your local Mazda dealer, great deals are as thick as autumn leaves under a plane tree. And it's your opportunity to step in and clean up on your next new Mazda. Operation Clean Up means you can spike a great deal on classy Protégé shades with free air. Score a stylish Mazda Rastina shades with air. Or storm off in a feature-packed 626 Eclipse. Plus, if you're quick, you'll clean up big time on brand new Bravo 1-tonners. Hurry! Be part of Operation Clean Up at your local Mazda dealer. The savings will blow you away.
The problem with most winter sales is that they happen at the end of winter, but not at Fossey's. Right now, you can save 40% off selected men's, ladies' and children's fashions. Don't freeze this winter. Get 40% off selected winter family fashion now.
You'll find the best prices on beds at Clark Rubber. Queen size beds $2.95, three-way bunks $3.99, mattresses from $31.95, sofa beds from $1.49, kids sofa range from $39, plus foam cut the size at Clark Rubber, 18 Prescott Street.
It's a classic Mother's Day at Clifford Gardens.
What you gonna do for me?
Noni Big special gift ideas for Mother's Day. You can now afford the best luxurious silk Angora jumpers at $79.95. Beautiful blouses just $59.95 and cashmere-like jumpers only $39.95. For that special Mother's Day gift, do it for me, Noni B.
Hello, welcome back to Win News. The Department of Water Resources says this gentle soaking rain is excellent for recharging groundwater supplies. Now, of course, we need weeks and even months of soaking rain like this to make a difference to those supplies given the years of drought, but this is a start. Let's take a look now at the weather and see what that's doing for the coming days. To the rainfalls, and these are the totals for the 24 hours to 9 a.m. today. Mendara topped with 70 millimetres. The temperatures in the top today, 17 degrees, the lowest 12 in Stanthorpe. Also, there's a land wind warning for elevated ground areas between Gladstone and Coolangatta. That includes Toowoomba, the Darling Downs and Granite Belt. To the surface charts, and very moist east to northeasterly winds are feeding into southeast Queensland between the low east of Townsville and the high in the Tasman Sea. That, in conjunction with an upper low south of Charleville, is producing widespread rain in a band from Roma to Rockhampton. Looking ahead, the upper low will move southeast tomorrow. That'll produce strong winds with rain slowly contracting towards the coast, reaching the southeast Downs late tomorrow night. Some showers can be expected after the rain with moist easterly winds. To the district forecasts, Darling Downs and Granite Belt, rain with some moderate to heavy falls, causing local flooding and stream rising. Wide Bay and Burnett, preliminary flood warning issued for streams south of Maryborough, rain with some moderate to heavy falls. Toowoomba, rain with strong east winds, reaching gale force at times. Sunrise 6:19, sunset 5:21. Tonight's wind weather watcher is Amanda Collins. Craig, that's the weather for now. Back to you in a dry, warm studio.
I don't envy you, Chrissy, but at least it's good news for the producers. Well, students at Toowoomba West Special School today joined thousands of children from around the world in simultaneous exercise. The international event is designed to get children more involved in exercise and help prevent diabetes.
It's not your usual aerobics class, but at the stroke of 10 o'clock this morning, these students joined thousands of other children exercising around Australia and the world.
ACES Day today stands for All Children Exercise Simultaneously. It's a worldwide event. Australia is one of 50 countries who participate, and each school in Australia is invited to participate.
The day is organised to promote awareness about diabetes, encouraging children to exercise and hence minimise obesity and the risk of contracting diabetes and heart disease later in life. Guest instructor Jackie Coates took the children through their paces for the start of a full half hour of exercise. Today's class is much about fun as it was about fitness.
That's what we do with children. When we exercise with children, we try to use the music, use fun activities, and they get a lot out of just moving around. They don't have to be terribly coordinated to get benefit from their exercise.
And fun it was.
You go to have to dance when you have to do this. It's fun.
What was your favourite exercise today?
Legs pat. I get all things.
Up to 1 million Australians suffer from diabetes. The need to exercise when young, equally important for those with and without a disability.
Many people have problems today which stem from the fact that they weren't exercised as children.
Bernadette Young, Win News.
And if you joined us late, our top stories: widespread soaking rain across the Darling Downs, and research scientists in the Lockyer Valley uncover a sorghum fungus previously undetected in Australia. And a youth curfew is being proposed for Toowoomba. That's our Darling Downs news for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 6. Bye for now.